Hi, I'm Kate.
And I'm Matt.
Our dad has been taking us to games since before we could walk.
We've been to baseball, football, basketball, and hockey games.
Along the way, we've seen a lot of things.
We've eaten a lot of food.
We've gotten to see some cool trophies.
Made friends with some mascots and got some autographs.
And learned a lot about the history of the places we've been.
We like to share it with you. This is Kate and Matt's Sporting Adventures! We are at the Antietam Battlefield in Maryland.
The Battle of Antietam, also known as the Battle of Sharpsburg, was fought on September 17, 1862, near the town of Sharpsburg and Antietam Creek in Washington County, Maryland. It was the first major battle in the American Civil War to take place on Union soil.
It was the bloodiest single-day battle in American military history, with the total number of dead, wounded, and missing soldiers at just under 23,000.
In the days leading up to Antietam, General Robert E. Lee moved his troops across the Potomac River to Frederick, Maryland, then on to Boonesboro and Hagerstown.
Union forces arrived in Frederick, Maryland on September 12th. On September 13th, General McClellan, leader of the Union Army, received a copy of General Lee's battle plan called Special Order 191.
On September 14th, a portion of Lee's army was sent to secure a Union garrison at Harper's Ferry, West Virginia.
With Lee's battle plan in hand, the Union Army continued to march west, taking the Battle of South Mountain as well as securing Crampton, Fox, and Turner Gaps.
September 15th, the Union garrison at Harper's Ferry surrendered to the units of Lee's troops while the rest of the force moved towards Sharpsburg.
Union troops crossed Antietam Creek and engaged in small skirmishes with Lee's army around 6 p.m. on September 16th.
Early on the morning of September 17, 1862, Union Commander Joseph Hooker led 8,600 troops down the Hagerstown Turnpike and met the Confederates led by Thomas Stonewall Jackson near the Dunker Church.
Hooker's troops were backed up by a division from New York led by Abner Doubleday. Doubleday is the man later credited with inventing the game of baseball.
The battle raged on from the Dunker Church, the North Woods, and into the cornfield near the Miller Farm. The cornfield was the scene of vicious fighting with artillery shells overhead. Men battled each other in hand-to-hand combat with soldiers beating each other with rifle butts and stabbing each other with bayonets.
By the time the early fighting had slowed, the casualties on both sides was almost 13,000, including 2 Union commanders.
From around 9:30 to 1 p.m., the fighting had moved to the area of the Sunken Road. The fighting was so intense that after the battle, the area became known as Bloody Lane. There were 5,600 casualties along the 800-yard road during this phase of the battle.
In the afternoon, the main fighting had moved to the south side of the battlefield.
The Confederates held a bridge over Antietam Creek for over 3 hours until the Union forces commanded by General Ambrose Burnside took back the bridge after several attempts. Burnside's troops pushed the Confederates back through the fields and into the streets of Sharpsburg. The bridge became known as the Burnside Bridge.
A tree seen here on the far side of the bridge still stands as it did back on the day of the battle. The tree is referred to as the Witness Tree.
On the morning of September 18, 1862, Lee's army prepared for an attack that never came. A truce was arranged to exchange and collect the wounded. Lee began withdrawing his troops back across the Potomac River into Virginia.
Although technically a draw with Lee leaving the battlefield and going back to Virginia, it was seen as a Union victory.
When the battle had ended, there were 2,108 Union and 1,546 Confederate soldiers dead, with 12,401 Union and 10,318 Confederate soldiers hurt or missing.
Several generals died in the Battle of Antietam. The spots where these men were wounded are marked with these memorial markers.
The officers are Union Major General Joseph K. Mansfield, Union Major General Israel B. Richardson, and Union Brigadier General Isaac P. Rodman,
Confederate Brigadier General Lawrence O. Brand, and Brigadier General William E. Stark. Confederate Brigadier General George B. Anderson was shot in the ankle in defense at Bloody Lane, but died later in October after amputation.
President Lincoln used the victory to issue a preliminary Emancipation Proclamation that stated if the South didn't end their rebellion by January 1st, 1863, he would issue by process of executive order and full Emancipation Proclamation on that date. The South refused to give in, and on January 1st, in 1863, it was signed into law.
Received victory also kept the British from aiding the South.
During and after the fighting, hospitals were set up at wherever cover could be found. Churches, houses, barns, and tents were used to aid the injured. Clara Barton brought food, bandages, lanterns, and water to aid the hospital workers. Surgeon Charles Dunn called her the Angel of the Battlefield. This is a monument for Clara Barton.
In 1881, Barton founded the American Red Cross, which provides mutual assistance to soldiers as well as aiding civilians after natural disasters.
The National Parks Service is in charge of preserving the battlefield, restoring and maintaining buildings, and honoring the memories of all those that fought in the battle. There are a lot of markers across the battlefield honoring individuals and units that served in the battle.
There is a museum inside the Visitor Center that has many of the relics that were found across the battlefield. There is a half-hour movie that describes events leading up to and the battle itself. Inside the Visitor Center, you can also meet a park ranger and get an activity pack to become a junior park ranger. They offer different books that are age appropriate, and you can earn a junior park ranger badge.
After our visit to Antietam, we headed up the road 10 miles to Hagerstown, Maryland.
We're in Hagerstown, Maryland.
For tonight's game between the Lakewood Blue Claws and the Hagerstown Suns.
The Hagerstown Suns are the Single-A South Atlantic League affiliate of the Washington Nationals.
The Suns play their home games at Municipal Stadium, which opened May 8, 1930, and is the third oldest ballpark in the minor leagues. Hagerstown has fielded a team in several leagues over the years. The Suns franchise was founded in 1981 and won a league title in their first year. Since 1981, the Suns have been affiliated with the Orioles, Blue Jays, Giants, Mets, and Nationals.
The history of baseball in Hagerstown goes back as far as 1915 with the Class D Hagerstown Blues. Willie Mays once played here, and his number 24 is retired along with the number 42 of Jackie Robinson and number 50 for South Atlantic League President John Henry Moss.
There are two other spots honoring former Hagerstown resident Nick Aidenhart, who was killed in an auto accident shortly after making it to the majors in 2009, and former Suns employee Mitch Akers, who died in an accident at the ballpark.
The ballpark has covered grandstand with bleachers down the baseline. There are 3 rows of reserved seats, with the others being general admissions.
When you first enter the park, you see the team souvenir booths as well as some of the food options. The selection is standard ballpark fare, but the prices were the most reasonable we've come across in our travels.
Kate and I had nachos, and our dad loaded up at the cheesesteak booth. He seemed to enjoy it a lot.
The crowd is able to spread out, and we found it to be a comfortable place to take in a baseball game. If you plan on going to a game here, make sure to pick up a scorecard. You can find the starting lineup posted on a chalkboard outside the grandstand entrance. When you get seated, you'll see a video board in left field. The board only shows the player at bat, and you've got to be paying attention to the action. There's a picnic area down the left field line with picnic tables along with a bar area to sample several types of beer.
There were plenty of chances to get autographs both before and after the game.
There was a lot of action in this game. The Suns fell behind 1-0 in the first inning after a stolen base and a single that drove in a run.
The Suns scored a run on a double. They have a hand-operated scoreboard in left field that gives you the score, and it is the only scoreboard in the park.
Jeffrey has 30 seconds to make it out to second base, rip it out of the ground, and then deliver it to Ashley standing over there on the third base line. Jeffrey, are you ready? Go! Make some noise for Jeffrey! He's got 30 seconds.
Onto my face.
Oh no. Approximately 5 seconds. Jeffrey's there, 10 seconds. Come on, make some noise out there. Help him out. Help him out. Take it with you, Jeffrey. Take it with you. 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8. Ladies and gentlemen, he's done it. Give a big round of applause for Jeffrey. He has delivered second base.
The Suns got 2 more runs on a home run by Roddy Reed.
DK carried single to drive in another run.
Lakewood manufactured a run in the 7th with a double, a sacrifice bunt, and a sac fly to cut the lead to 4-2. In the top of the 9th, the Blue Claws made it interesting by loading the bases before knocking in a couple of runs to make it a 6-4 game with 2 runners on base. Sanchez came in and he got a ground out to second to pick up his first save of the season.
We went to Antietam Battlefield earlier, and now we came to the Suns game. They won 6-4.
And it was a fun game. And we also got to throw balls. And I have a solution.
Winner of tickets
It's the
is
guy.
409.
You're pretty much going to win this $50,000.